Hey, good evening, everybody. I am Chuck Rogers, licensed professional counselor and licensed marriage and family therapist.
And I'm Keith Dunn, and I'm a network engineer.
And web designer, world traveler,
Videographer.
Man, you are getting it done.
Yes,
and together, we are Tabletop Coffee.
Where we are bold and never, ever bitter.
And tonight, we're talking about Stop Living Paycheck to Paycheck, Part 4, Stop Impulsive Purchases. Stay tuned, and we'll talk about it. Well, tonight we're talking about a topic that you know a lot about, money.
Yeah.
And tonight, this whole piece about impulsive spending. And as we talk about this, I'm kind of almost ashamed that we're talking about it because the things that we talk about aren't rocket science.
No, they aren't, but it's something that people get sucked into, especially the impulsive buying.
Yeah, it really does. And when I'm working with couples especially, I say this a lot, the things I'm going to teach you are so incredibly simple, not easy. And this is another one, this thing about needing to stop impulsive spending. And I was reminded of this as I was thinking about doing this. Back several years ago, I was watching or listening to, I cannot remember, Suze Orman.
Oh,
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, she's on MSNBC or something like that.
She's a money expert,
right.
And she has people call in and does various things. But one of the segments is they will call in and then they will say to her, hey, this is my income, hey, this is my outgo, and I would like to make this purchase, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's right.
And she tells them whether or not they can actually make that purchase.
Yeah. Right.
And it's really cool, and sometimes she'll just, you can't afford this.
Right.
No, you can't afford this. And one guy called in, young guy, and he says to her, here's my income, so she writes it all down. Here's my outgo, and she writes it all down. And then she says to him, what would you like to purchase? And he said, a motorcycle.
Okay.
And I started laughing, going, oh, she's going to tell this guy, go pound sand. There's no way you should buy this motorcycle.
Don't buy that.
So she does her figuring, and she says, I know I'm going to shock a lot of people here, but you, my friend, can actually afford to buy this motorcycle.
Right.
She says, I'm not saying it's a good idea that you purchase this motorcycle.
Exactly.
I'm just saying you can afford it.
That's right.
And I was blown away by that, but it really resonated with me about not whether it's a wise purchase or not, but whether you can actually afford it.
That's right. And I think when it comes down to impulsive buying, people don't go through that process at all.
They don't.
It's just, I want it, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
And, I was thinking about this today because we talked about this this morning and talked about what we were going to go through tonight. And I was thinking about, it used to be, the impulse buying was just done inside of the store. So you go inside of Walmart or you go inside of a grocery store and they always have things on the end caps and right there at
Impulse
the checkout.
buys.
So you're just like, oh, I want one of those. Or, something as simple as a candy bar. Yeah, I'm kind of hungry. I'm going to go ahead and get one of these. Now it's like a $3 candy bar.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was really putting thought into this. And you know where I think most of the impulse buying is going today?
Where's that?
Amazon.
I think you're probably right, because it's so easy.
It is. It is so easy to buy things. I was on yesterday. I'm not an impulse buyer.
No, you're not.
But I did some research and I bought a new tripod. And it was so easy. I did my research. I had 3 different ones picked out. Clicked the button. Automatically done and received it today. It's just too easy. It's really too easy.
It really is too easy.
Yeah.
It's convenient, but it's too easy. Now, what was our video that we did last week? Too drunk, too poor, or too fat?
Yeah, too fat. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
Too fat, too poor, and too drunk, something like that. And I was thinking about that as we were talking about tonight. Because if people are trying to, let's say, lose weight, they have a particular plan of action. This is on my menu.
Okay.
I can have this today, or I can have this today. I can have this today.
Okay.
And if something else comes up into their purview, they have to ask themselves, is this on my menu?
Right.
And if it is, they can eat it. And if it's not on there, they can't eat it.
Okay.
And what if we did the same thing financially?
That's a really good idea.
Wouldn't that cut down on the impulse spending?
I think it would.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to look at that.
Yeah.
I think also just putting things into perspective and going back to the Susan Orman. Susan Orman? Suze Orman. And, you know, I think of Dave Ramsey as well. He goes through this process with people all of the time, trying to find out where they are and how much money they have left over. And a lot of people aren't thinking along the lines of, okay, so I've got, you know, 10% left over. What am I going to do with it? And they're not even thinking about savings.
No.
And that really should come before any type of other buying. Get all of your other expenses out of the way. Go ahead and put some money away so you have something for a rainy day or even for later in life when you retire or decide that you want to make a change in your life. But if you impulse buy all of the time, you lose those abilities to put that money away.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah. And so I think that it's really important as a takeaway on this to watch what you spend, and if it's not something that you need, really put some thought into it before you go and purchase it.
Yeah, I heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard that one financial person like Dave Ramsey, I'm not saying Dave said this, but they encourage people to put their credit cards into a container of water and freeze it.
Okay.
And then if they wanted to purchase something, they had to set it outside the freezer and let it thaw. And then by the time it thawed, then they could use that credit card if they still wanted to. But you've got to do something, whether it's literally that.
Right.
Because it really wouldn't work today because your credit card information is electronically stored. You've got to do something that is going to stand in the way of you just making that impulsive decision.
I think it's more of a state of mind. It's something that you have to purposefully work through in your own self to put things in place that kind of prohibit you from getting to that point. But boy, it's so easy today. I mean, you don't have to worry about your credit cards. It's loaded on your phone. It's loaded in your browser. It's loaded everywhere. And just about anywhere you go, even if you don't have a credit card, they give you some other way to pay for things.
Yeah.
So that's a really tough one, you know, getting through that side of it.
You know, AA and NA, you know, you get out the big book, you read the big book, you go for a walk, you call your sponsor, you go to a meeting. But with purchases, it's a little bit more difficult, and
you could still use someone else.
You can still use somebody. Say, I'm really having a purchase urge. I'm thinking about purchasing this. If I were to call you, run it by you, we talk it through and say I think it's a good idea, or I think it's no. This is you've made this commitment. You've got to do it. So I think it really can boil back down into using someone else as your accountability person about making purchases.
Right. I think so too. And that does go back to last week's video where we were talking about the wife of that couple who put them in financial stress.
Yes.
You know, later in their marriage, she ran all the credit cards and everything up to $40,000. Her husband was a financial guy. He didn't even know what was going on until they had gotten to that point. So it's kind of, I don't know if it was impulse buying or what caused that at that time. It could have been some of that as well. But I think when you're married and you have someone there with you, hopefully one person is able to understand the financial side of things a little bit better and be able to put some stipulations on that buying process. And we talked about that last week.
Did. Yeah.
But if you don't have a spouse or someone that you are in the same house making money with, I think you would have to look for someone else outside. I would definitely call Chuck. So
call me or call Keith.
I would call, or you know what you can do? if you want to ask, just put a comment down below.
That'd be good.
Yeah. It's just like sending us a text. If you put a comment down below, we'll respond to it. It may not be quite as fast as a text, but it'll get your point across.
And we'll tell you whether or not you can make that purchase.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be happy to do that. Yeah, that's great. I like that.
And if you're in debt, I don't think you can make these kind of purchases.
No, you can't.
If you're out of debt, it might not be wise for you to make it, but
Exactly.
you have the freedom to make it.
Yeah.
But until you're out of debt, out of consumer debt,
Yeah, I agree with that.
you can't be making these kind of purchases. Hey, I hope you liked our content. If you did, would you please subscribe? Because Keith would really appreciate that.
I really would, because I also don't want to be freezing my credit cards. Also, ding that bell so you're notified of upcoming episodes.
Make sure to like it.
Yep, share it with your friends.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time.